got a song for the eternal tones of soul.
What's this? Gosh, there's a delay right in the beginning of this thing. Isn't that weird? Greetings in the name of the Most High. Orbs for Christmas. It has to be the most brain dead population in the history of human beings. It just has to be the most, and the reason for the struggle, okay? The reason for the trouble that you were in COVID, the reason for the struggle with everything comes down to conformity versus nonconformity. It comes down to the decision to, follow a line or cross a line. And the majority of people cross a line as their parents did, and as their parents did, as their parents did, and all that. And that, ironically, then becomes the need for Jesus. Merry Christmas today. And I don't mind saying Merry Christmas. I'm glad that you're having, I used to never say Merry Christmas, and I wouldn't want a tree either, or any of those things, because basically they were all pagan symbols, and Jesus being, born on the solstice is basically a pagan idea. And so I didn't want any part of it. So I just would, say, I'm not saying Merry Christmas to you or whatever. I kind of saw or paid the price for nonconformity. But here's the weird thing about where I'm at with it now. And I also praise the Lord, praise God for another year of life. I mean, compared to last year, this is like the best Christmas ever. Okay. Last year was just the most, oh my God. It was so, I didn't complain enough. But I didn't want to just get on here and complain. But, boy, I mean, we were all so miserable. And I miss Begs, I miss my dog so much. And I miss Trish, and I missed being home. And then this year we have, well, I can't show you right now because I'm on this laptop. I'm writing, so I've got a routine. So I use these. See Stephen King? I don't really need to have, I have my elaborate setup in my studio, but these are fantastic. And they're, I guess they're Bluetooth. That might not be good for you, but I put these on, and wherever I am is I'm there in the midst of that zone. Lately, I've been dealing with music, and I've been finding the best tracks. I mean, tracks that sort of portend to a new future, and some that don't, but tracks that portend to a new music, that we're emerging to. And it's very exciting because a lot of these are, they're very, they're kind of coming out of rock and EDM and and rap and various, and trap and various forms that we've had before, dub, and electronic. I guess the competition has been between the heavy metal double bass drum drumming with the big rhythm section, and the screaming and all that, the raw kind of almost punk metal aspect, and then the giant wall of sound created by the guy that wins is the single producer in his room with his various machines, and he creates a much bigger sound than even the cinema. He creates the EDM people are creating a wall of sound that just has me marveling because it puts me into a world where I am completely gone into another world, which does not happen with rock music. Rock music's basically dead at this point. And hip hop and those are kind of dead now. All those, pop music, it's all dying out, except for people that keep it going. It's just because they don't realize what can be done. But this idea of the bass drop and then entering into that giant bass, which then leads the way toward, and I have examples of what I mean, but I mean you have to follow me around closely to get those examples. That leads the way to this big wall of bass that then leads the way to other things going on in that world. So that's like the creation of the world. So you'll be going along kind of like on a pop sort of thing. Da, 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 boom, and then it goes into this unusual beat. And the beats are never, like four on the floor anymore. They're very more cinematic. And then some don't even require percussion. Like in the remix and the reimagination of Solitude, for example, a track that I believe Netflix owns. I don't know what movie it was attached to, but that's one of the finest pieces of music I've ever heard. And it's again, it goes to the sound. Does the sound create a world? Yes or no? If the sound just makes you groove in your world, that's fine, but that's not enough for me. I need to be in another world. I can't be in this world. I reject this world. And I want you to take me on a ride into your world. I want to go where there's no escape from the giant wall of reality that's been created. And frankly, rock and roll, a single bass guitar hooked up to an amp, and a kit of drums, even with big rock and roll chords, cannot equal the power of the single producer, even the DJ that knows how to drop the bass, knows how to within that context of that beat create the world. Rock and roll creates no worlds. It basically is a very nostalgic medium. Pop is mainly about relationships and frankly broken relationships, and wanting and not getting, or wanting and then not wanting, and I don't know, it's just boy chases girl chases girl, boy chases boy, just um, uh, relationships, which I don't want. I'm not interested. Um, Punk rages against the hypocrisy of the day, which I used to really love that. But that's become to me shop worn. I'm tired of it. So I'm tired of all of it, except when there's a world, like I always like to, good music for the cinema also can do what I'm talking about. And when you have like aspects of each in it, it creates something very powerful. That is the ability to move me from one dimension, one reality to another. And in that reality, I can create. You see, that also gets my endorphins going. And so there's reasons that I want that. And most of the time, that kind of music makes me cry. And yeah, I want that. I want to cry. You know, I want to feel all that range of emotions. I'm probably not explaining it right, because I am very accurate here. And I see how people could have their own opinion, and I reject your opinion, because your opinion has nothing to do with reality. So I don't. I mean, maybe your reality, and that's valid, and that's great. Have your opinion, but it doesn't apply to me. What I'm doing is I'm basing it not on what I like so much. It is I'm basing it on what actually moves me. And creates Well, I really am not explaining it well. I should probably put a playlist together, my Spotify playlist, and one day maybe just play it. Yeah, I don't know that, and it shifts a little bit too. You know, um, I was talking to this one producer. It's like, and the music that I like, I'm getting in touch with these producers because I want to probably license some of them for the next upcoming next couple of films we're going to do, and I just have to see where I can plug them in, and so I guess every once in a while I'll post one on the Facebook page, and then some things I like are very iconic and they've already been used up, so I'm not interested in those just for myself. There's also another movement of music called it's called EDM metal. And EDM metal will use electronic music, but we'll use the double bass drum of metal. And then we'll use the screaming of metal and the same kind of thing, but with that big background that I'm talking about, that big sound. Now I have A-B'd the sound. And again, there is no way that a rock rhythm section background, bass drums, rhythm guitar, or a keyboard, there's no way that that can equal the drum and bass sound of an EDM artist. In fact, they're not even close in terms of just scientific sound saturation. They're not even close. And so the reason that this music is popular in clubs and in the club scene is because when that happens, the people get put into another world and they start dancing, and they'll buy drinks, and they'll get all toasty roasty, and they'll do what they used to do with rock and roll, but they'll actually dance and cheer, and so they'll be transported to another world. If they weren't transported to another, I've also watched the dancers in rock dancing, like I've just seen Paul McCartney, which is a bore. I don't care what you say. I'm just a shop worn bore. Sammy Hagar, and then a few metal bands. I've liked some of this black metal out of Iceland and Reykjavik, and some of that's pretty cool, and I really like it. But it's still not the world so it's funny that Jim Morrison made a prediction. Well, I still like the Doors, but again, the Doors, I'd like to hear it remixed with an actual bass section, because the Doors have no bass. It's got this little bass that Ray Manzarek would play, this little bass on top of his Fender Rhodes, and that you need more than that. You know what I mean? You need more in your arsenal than that. And I don't know. There's been a bunch of other metal bands recently. The more recent, the Slayers and the Godsmacks and all those. Slipknot. Slipknot has an unbelievable drummer named Eloy Casagrande, who's just insane. It's just great. I love listening to him solo, but they're not. But see, sometimes that many notes on the drums gets in the way of the wall of sound that I'm talking about, because you need more room for your bass. You need more room for the big wall, and the wall can't just be percussion only. And but it's nice. It gets people moving. And so why am I saying this? Because I'm looking out for music that moves worlds for cinema application, for use in videos, particularly in movies, because that's what people remember if you've got the right song. And the right song doesn't necessarily need to be something that's cool. It has to be the right thing for that moment. And I've kind of honed my skills as a listener. I have a very good ear, like Trish can tell you. I can hear like 1 second of someone talking. I can tell you who it is. You know what I mean? It's just, I've got that locked in thing. And I really have been focusing on, the kind of music, the kind of direction I think music should go into in the future. And I want to influence it, because I think where we've been is sad. And incomplete, and I don't like nostalgia. I don't think anybody really likes nostalgia, but we put up with it, don't we? Because that was, well, we had good times then, and that was great back then. We're talking about 15 years ago now. How far back do you need to go to get a groove going? 20 years? Soundgarden, 1995, Tool, 1995. At Tool, another great example. As good as they are, they have no wall of sound. Sorry. Next. Not interested. And I know that Sammy Hagar said to about Maynard and Tool, he said, well, Maynard here, this is the best artist in the world. I agree with you. That's the best rock will ever be, is Tool. That's the best it's ever going to be. Next, please.
What was the prediction that?
Jim Morrison made?
Yeah.
Jim Morrison, this could have been AI. I mean, he's sitting there in 1969 or 19. I don't think he had a big bushy beard until 1970, but I can't be complete. I mean, I'm not a historian, but he's sitting there saying, music of the future. He goes, rock and roll is about dead. He's totally right on that, because right after the Doors, we went into this sort of, I don't know, some kind of classic music combined with rock, kind of weird, like Yes and Pink Floyd and those things. And they were fine for one album, you know what I mean? But it just got, then it went from that to glam. And glam, dropped out then. Then it went to that, to the original, unique artists, like, one guy, like, okay, so Phil Collins broke out with a solo, career, and then Peter Gabriel had his career, where people in bands would break out and do their own solo thing. And the radio was just kind of like going back and forth between Madonna and, My Sharona back in the late 70s. And then of course the Police were in there, but that it was still, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just talking about my own process, because I'm thinking cinematically. I'm not thinking about music as a standalone. I'm thinking about music wedded to image. And I watched the crowd in a typical EDM disco experience in Ibiza in Spain, where it's just all about disco and doing uppers and coke and staying up for 5 days and getting really ugly. Okay. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at what point does the crowd react? And then most of them are singing the lyrics. There's a lot of times with that big sound, you put like a gal with a really soprano voice on top of it. And she's singing beautifully on top of this wall of sound. And they all know, they're all singing, they're all lip syncing. These are the pop hit. Now the thing is the pop world, the radio world hasn't really picked up on that yet, because the radio world has been reluctant to. They like the pop part where there's a guy singing, but when the bass drops, they cut that out. They just want it to be this pop, and then chorus, turn around, another verse, another chorus, finale and out, and focusing on the singing and just normal background players. So Jim Morrison said that the future of music will be one guy in a room with machines. He said this, I swear to you, it's unbelievable. One guy in a room with machines. Now it could have been AI, because you could put anything in someone's mouth. So I've never seen this clip before. So I'm always allowing for that. But if it's true, that was very prescient, because the future belongs to the single. Today, music belongs to the single producer, the guy in the room with the machines. He's going to create the beat. He's going to create the wall of sound. He's going to have a bass setup that's going to move people to their feet no matter what they think. He's going to have all this stuff going before he even hires an artist to sing on top of it. He is going to have that beat down. The guy in the room with the drum machine and the bass machine and this and that bass synth and the various synths. So those are the guys. I mean, certainly in pop music, it's down to the one producer, right? it's a one producer medium. The DJs have kind of taken over in a way, but you see, they can't stay DJs because people hate DJs. Yeah, people don't like DJ. People need the future of music is experiential, not nostalgic. I'll leave it there. I don't care. I don't care. You can have your own opinion, and I don't want to argue about anybody with this. It's my personal taste, and I'm just going to be on my journey, and your journey, I'm sure, is valid for you. What music is an elective, right? You don't have to have music in your life, do you? Do you? You do?
Yes.
Well, then you better start figuring out what's good and what's not. Because right now, the tastemakers are full of shit. People don't want what's there today. And like Rick Rubin says, they don't know what they want. You have to tell them what they want. It's not up to the public. They don't know shit. So that's enough of that. So unless you want to go round and round with nostalgia. Now, I don't mind nostalgia if I'm listening to Chopin or Beethoven or Brahms or any of those or opera. I don't mind. I'm all in love with that. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what creates a happening, a thing, creates reality. And sound has the ability to bust through. In fact, if you use different frequencies like 432 frequency or some of these other ones, they can actually do things to the listener. But they might do things you don't want them to do. So there's that. Okay, and then back to Jesus. Oh yeah, Jesus. Well, today is not Jesus' birthday, and this is the solstice, and this is about the pagan celebrations of the solstice. I hope we can get back to Jesus' day, which is somewhere around Rosh Hashanah. And at least last I left off on my research, that's where it was. I hope we can get back to some of that, and people don't seem to have that they're acting like we need to forgive everybody and love everybody and be looking the other way on any kind of any persecution. We need to be all about that. No, Jesus, number one function of Jesus, okay, will save save his followers from save true believers, save people that know that this is the truth from destruction is what it is. I mean, instead of saying hell, we should just say destruction. But what Jesus is all about mainly is division. And ouch. I understand that the hard way. I mean, this society of America is intolerant to Jesus Christ. And to see all these, people celebrating Christmas, it makes me, I don't get angry anymore. But I just feel like it's almost as if the people that are not for real with Jesus, Merry Christmas, and they'll sing some Christmas carols and they'll go to church once a year or whatever it is they do. They've got nothing to do with Jesus, nothing to do with being a Christian, nothing to do with the path, the way, the truth, and the life. And they do not show that Jesus is the light of the world. When Jesus was born, it was the light of the world. And then when the world was dark, when the world was being formed, God said, "Let there be light." So light is a very important thing. But so truth, life, and way. So there's a way. The way doesn't start and end on the 25th. There's a truth. That means everything that you encounter in your head, in your reading, and your interaction with people is weighed against truth. And that's why true believers in Jesus are so damn hard to get along with. It's not the other way around. I mean, the true believer, he's there. And then this is really kind of an important thing for me. He's there at your celebration, at your party. trying to fit in, trying to have a good, being loving to people, and people are being a complete shit to him, a complete shit to her, and they're coming around making little snarky jokes like here's a guy that doesn't know shit. This guy doesn't know anything. Let's tease him. You know what I mean? I mean, we all had to join society and conform and all that. And look at this guy. He's just walking around, clinking glasses, being happy. What the hell's fucking wrong with this guy? We're going to ruin his life. Beginning now. Okay, now you might think that's an exaggeration. That's actually exactly the way it is. So here's to forgiveness. The only way that I've been able to survive every day that I get really to breathe is a blessing of God. It's a gift of the Lord. Because people like you and me are not supposed to breathe. We're not supposed to live. We're not supposed to enjoy anything. And other people who are being shitty, reject you. And they reject you because you're not on the same page they're on. So you're shit because they're the majority. So you pay. You be as nice as you want. Forgive everybody. I forgive you as they're stabbing you, as they're killing you. I forgive you. Stab, kill, cut off their head, kill, stab, whatever. And so Jesus is here to bring, and that's on a good day, how they love to get together and tease and mock people that don't follow the devil, frankly, or whatever it is, the way of the world. And the way of the world means you're an accomplice to murder, you're a child abuser, you're a pervert, you're a thief, and you're a liar. And that's what the bulk of humanity is at the get-go. Unless they've really worked on themselves, I guess you could do that. But in the end, you'll be tested. And if you see, without the power of the Lord, without the power of the Holy Spirit, I wouldn't be able to forgive all these people that basically wanted to do me in. My childhood was filled with it. What? Why? Well, someone pointed out to me, did a song about me called "The Cost of Being Different," and I suppose that I was just different from birth, because I had a friend that lived up and across the street on Elm Drive. Remember where the Menendezes were? And he said, and I actually, he's became a famous artist. I actually talked to him in the last decade or two. And he says, I just remember you were a troubled soul. Well, he was the head of our carpool to school over in Coldwater Canyon to Harvard Westlake School. Well, it was actually Harvard at the time. And he was he had the license. All the rest of us were underage. And so that was my last year. I guess I was kicked out of there in 9th grade or something. But he would have the carpool, so he would remember me from 9th grade, then 8th and 7th grade, all the way back to like 6th grade. He remembered me as a troubled soul, and I said, I'm not troubled, and I wasn't troubled. I said, it's a troubled world. He says, well, I disagree with you what you say about the churches. And he was all obsessed with Jesus and doing art for Jesus and doing installations in Israel. And, he's like a big jet setter artist guy. And then his wife ordered him not to talk to me anymore. And I was just getting to know him again. I wanted to talk to him about the time we played hooky and went surfing at Rincon and got some great 10-foot waves with like 5 of us out. We had every wave we wanted to ourselves. Some great memories, but nope, you were a troubled soul and I'm not allowed to talk to you. Thus says my wife. And I'm like, what kind of a wimp are you? What is this what's happened to people? The wives have emasculated all the husbands. The women don't want wimps for husbands. That's been proven. The women have no respect for the cuckolds of this world at all. if that's what you're going to be, don't even try getting married. Don't do it. There's no such thing as a marriage that will work out. That it's just like open marriages, cuckold marriage, fetish based on fetishes. This is all of Satan. This is all of demonic. This is all of the dark side. This is all leading to death, destruction, because eventually your body gives out. And you're not just being driven by sex. You know, if you're driven by sex to do the wrong thing, you should be celibate then. So, you know, but for your own safety, not because it's the right thing to do or being virtuous. So fuck, I don't cares about your virtue. That's you. But you should understand that drive, if you're wired wrong, and there is a wrong, then it will drive you to destruction. Because on your best day, you're going to get old. Your little pecker's going to just not work anymore. That drive's going to go away. And then, are you going to be like, what's his name in East of Eden? Mr. Magoo, the guy that played the father, and he put on the apron. He was doing all the cleaning in the kitchen. He had become a completely emasculated man, and well, anyway, you know, I had it right on my tongue, and it left because I've had too much junk food today. Oh yeah, well, we got a Harry and David gift with all kinds of naughty things in there. But seriously, about like on the sex thing, it's not telling you what you can't do. God's not telling you, oh, don't do this because that's bad. I'm a paternal fascist, and I'm telling you not to use your dick or something like that. Nobody is saying that. They're saying, if you go down that road, this is what happens. And it's not because God, am a bad guy and I just don't want you to enjoy yourself. You ever been to in a gay brothel or a gay orgy? The only reason I bring that up is because I was just remembering that I lived up on Laurel Canyon for a time when I came back to LA, and I was writing screenplays, and we were doing society. I was writing, and I had a nice little piece of the house to myself at that time was an actress, a TV actress who had bought a house there, and she had a cottage that she rented out to these 3 gay guys, and they every once in a while would have a party, and the sounds coming out of that house it sounded to me like someone was getting stabbed to death, tortured when they're having sex. I mean, somebody is getting hurt, and somebody's on top, and someone's doing the bullying, and someone's getting hurt and screaming. And it was so loud that I finally got to the point where I just had to move out. I said, I just can't get any sleep. I mean, these guys are just constantly, you know, going at it and, you know, playing their game. And the game is basically slaves and masters. And I've never actually known it to be any different than that. Has it changed? Is there like man and woman and they get married and they just put these guys away for 100 years that adopted 2 kids? I'd have to say, when I said gays could adopt kids, I guess I got to revise that and say maybe not, because I think the temptation for those kids is too much and they'll get hurt. They adopted 2 boys and they abused the 2 boys. They got 100 years in prison. And I give them, you know, knowing, I was in bands with ex-convicts. I mean, I know convicts, you know what I mean? And yeah, we get along great because we're all in the same boat pretty much. But what I learned from that is like, when a pedophile comes into prison, now this guy that was in the band with was in prison in Kansas, in Lansing prison. And he would tell me, you know, some of the stories, like when a pervert would come in, you know, the guy that's down at the park waiting for the kids to bring the soccer ball down and start kicking the soccer ball around. And he's hanging out in the bathroom, you know what I'm talking about. He said they don't even last 5 minutes. Like this one guy, he was in the lunchroom, and a guy got a hold of the paper cutters that they're like they're like a sword on there that can cut thick paper. Well, some guy got a hold of one of those and detached it, and he basically cut the guy's head off right in the lunchroom. And he said he never forgot that. He said part of his head went flying all the way across the room and stuck to the wall. And I said, that's horrific. And he goes, there's zero tolerance for pedos in prison. So these guys are going to have to go probably to I'm not sure if it's a federal pen or if it's going to be a state pen, probably a federal. And they're going to have to be sequestered in an area where they can't get at them because they will kill them. They will rip them to shreds. They will dismember them and use them for fertilizer. The hatred toward pedophiles don't underestimate in society the hatred of pedophiles and and these guys said they're just gay, they're LGBTQ activists. And that's, and I said, well, what do you think the point of LGBTQ is? It's not gay rights. Nobody cares what you do with another adult, a consenting adult. I can say that, if you think God is a patriarch that's trying to slap you down for having a desire for a boy when it should be a girl and all that, that's not it. It's the idea that things have consequences. And I think all that the commandments or all that God's pointing out in the word is that saying, don't go down this path because there will be consequences. Now they're saying, well, God should amend those consequences and let us do what we want and have freedom. And I've never met a free slave. Have you? Because in the gay community, you have to pretty much enslave yourself. That's what they told me. They were going to sell me, or my mother was, into West Hollywood. I didn't find out how much money they were going to get, but it was either that or or back to court. I was being tried for possession of drugs, and I was in the loony bin, and it was just not a good time for me as a teenager. And so they wanted to get me down there. And I was told the facts of life that, basically when you're a boy that starts off in West Hollywood, you are owned property. You are not of your own freedom. You don't have your own schedule. If you even gain too much weight or something like that, you get punished. And the worst punishment, I suppose, would be to be kicked out and have no money, no food, no nothing, and just be on the street. And that's what happens if you don't follow orders, if you don't agree to be a slave, that's where you wind up. And so in an orgy situation or sex situation, these kids will bring in thousands of dollars a night, and they're dropped off by a limo at some senator's place, right? Senators in town at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. They drop them off there. They take them up to the room, and they basically have to do whatever the pervert wants them to do. They are a slave. They're tell me, where's the patriarchal slap down fascism in that? No, that is the deal. Is there no criticism for people enslaving other people? That doesn't sound like having fun. The whole thing is based on prostitution. It's slaves and masters, and it's, and if it past a certain age, you have to buy sex. I guess that's too hard for the public to understand. I shouldn't even try. But I can tell you this. The consequences, like I would say, the reason God says don't suffer a witch to live is because the witch would destroy the economic fabric of, that's the purpose of witchcraft, is to bring poverty, not to bring wealth. Maybe bring wealth to themselves or to their friends, but to basically put people in bondage. add in the LGBTQ, sex manual, more bondage. Put them in there when they're 5 years old at school. Get them hardwired for it when they're young, and when they want to have a family and get married and all that, they can't do it because they can't have sex with their wives. Why not? Because they've been hardwired to be punished, to be threatened, to be tortured, to be belittled, to be degraded, to be pissed on, to be shat upon, to be made into a piece of human garbage, and then ordered to. Well, anyway, I could go on and on with it. It's self-evident. The thing I don't like is the misinformation about God and the Word, about how all that is there to say no to people because it's a fascist patriarchy. And that did not stop anyone from doing gay sex. In fact, the church probably did more gay sex than anybody. I had a pastor that was, they objected to the gay sex in my book, but then I found out that the wife was a lesbian and he was into little boys. I didn't turn him in. It just left the church. I couldn't believe it's so typical of a story. Oh, and they would lecture you all day long about not doing homosexuality. All day long, they lectured against gays all day long. And yet here they are championing it in the behind closed doors.
Then they quit the ministry, right?
They quit the ministry, but the thing is that most of all of them are covering for that very thing, especially pedophilia. Against the people who are really in trouble in these evangelical churches are the youth groups, just like in the Catholic Church. Same problem. Need I go on? Okay, we get that. Okay, so Christmas, doesn't have this universally good cheer feeling to me when you're talking about enslaving children and trafficking people and trafficking women and trafficking, young adults into gay brothels so they can pay their bills, et cetera, or not go to jail, which is another big thing. If you want jail, or do you want to go down here and be a gay sex slave? Why do you have a choice? Because they run the courts, they run the jails. There is no rule of law. That's why. There never has been a rule of law. That's why people complain. Anyone you got money, you get off. That's right. You got money, you can buy your way out. Or if you're young and desirable, you can cut a deal, and the court's up to their neck in it, because aren't they also customers? Well, of course they are. How many judges don't do? Another question for our society would be: how many people are not caught up in this sex trade? Oh, you mean the weirdos, the people we don't want at our party? Yeah. So we are in serious trouble. Okay, and it's because people never understood what sex was. I got hardwired the wrong way to I want to be killed. And I almost got my wish. And, no, I mean, it doesn't manifest like as a sex desire, I want to be killed. It's now, I have to weed it out of my consciousness. I want to be killed. Because it's a form of sex abuse, even if there's no sex involved. So I've had to work through that. I've had that since I was I don't know, as long as I can remember. I want to be killed. Merry Christmas. Hey, we're going to have Christmas this year. Oh, yeah. Be sure to kill me. You mean I'm going to be killed? Mm-hmm. How did I get over that? By being aware of it, and by telling God that I'm, despite my weaknesses, I'm going straight. I'm straight up word of God. If I let myself go in any of these directions, I would be dead a long time ago. because that's where it goes. Now, that's just one incident. I mean, I've just confessed my own. It's not really even, I'm not embarrassed about it because my daughter died from the very same thing must be a generational curse, but she died from it. So I'm not reticent to talk about it because I feel there's kids out there that need help. And they need to understand that stuff's real, that sex is spiritual. It's not something that you just throw away on the TikTok. And it's disgusting, TikTok and all that. And I'm guilty of looking at it. Mainly, I just look at it like, can you believe what these people are doing? You know, I mean, it's like that. But it's they don't understand where this is headed. I don't care where it's headed. Fuck Jesus. Fuck God. I'm going to hell. And I'm going to have some fun on the way. And fuck you too. Well, that's a nice attitude. Boy, we're going to get along great with that. Because, you know, once you say fuck God, fuck Christmas, fuck Jesus, the next thing you're saying is, well, fuck the president, fuck the UN, fuck the world. I'm going to become a terrorist. I'm right. Fuck everything. They have it coming. I'm going to shoot that guy in the back of the head. You know, to wild cheers from the crowd because the whole crowd is now fuck Jesus. You're not going to shoot somebody in the back of the head if you love Jesus. If the Holy Spirit's working within you, you're not going to do it. And you're not going to, you know, you might fantasize about all kinds of sexual things, but the difference is you're not going to do it. You're going to stop short. Even though the urge, desire, whatever, you know, you're not going to become a raging alcoholic. You'll stop just short of that, you know, because you realize there's a line that there are consequences to everything. And the consequences for, I'll tell you the biggest sin that people do that I think that we're guilty of. I think the biggest sin is to unspiritualize life. That I know that sounds kind of hackneyed, and it is. I just don't know another way to put it. You know, I don't want to say the word profane, but you know how to unspiritualize sex, how to unspiritualize, you know, things that are, for example, in a home, you have a hearth. And that's like God, you know what I mean? That's the where you get warmth. That's the center. That's the axis mundi of your world, right? The axis mundi. That's the alpha and the omega, the fireplace. That's the everything kind of swirls around that fireplace because that's called sacred space, the fireplace. And you don't just go up there and take a piss on the bricks of your fireplace. You don't do that. You tend not to profane that fireplace because even if the whole house is a mess and you've got dishes piled up and garbage and dog stuff and cats and everything else all a mess, at least you've got that hearth area. And if you don't have a real fireplace, there's a center. Usually people find a center somewhere in their house that is sacred space. This is because man, and I don't mean gay here, man is homo religiosus, this is the term we were taught when we were in the history of religion. What a dumb thing I majored in, man. History of religions. Why would that? I can think of useless degrees, but that's got to be the most useless of all. Except for this talk right now, it comes in handy. Homo religiosus. So that means that whether we live in the trees, whether we live, you know, in the field, whether we have a campsite, you know, you've got your campfire and you've got usually some food or some shelter for some things you're trying to preserve. You might be smoking some meat of a catch you caught or fish near that fireplace. And then the tents are usually further out because you've created sacred space. And when you sing together or talk to each other, or when you dance, when you celebrate, you're going to be doing it around the fire because that becomes the axis mundi. And we are always going to create, and a lot of this comes from Carl Jung as well, but we're always going to, who was an atheist, it doesn't really matter. We're always going to create sacred space. And that's why, you can work it back the other way and say, well, the sacred space of America is Satan's penis, or rather, if you like, the Washington Monument, or if you like the phallus of Baal. Would you like that, or would you? It's an erect penis inside the circle, which represents fertility. It's a pagan symbol. These are all over India, by the way. They're called Shiva lingas. In fact, one of the airlines out of India is called Lingam Airlines. Lingam is like penis, the Shiva penis, and they're all over India. And then the circle, the vagina, is called the yoni, and so you have the lingus and the yoni inside each other, like a when they make these grinders for the pestle grinders to grind up salt or whatever seasonings. It's a similar thing. It's like a pagan sort of symbol. And where you see these kinds of symbols, we have the worship of man, because man's number one god is the penis. That's the axis mundi. That's the creator. That's where the seed comes from. So that becomes it's understandable, right? Makes sense. Until you realize that it's not about man. It's not about your hero worship of your gods. It's not about your witches that control everybody. It's not about your rituals. It's not about you at all. And then all your phalluses must come down. It's not the phallus. It's he who made the phallus. It's not the planet. We worship Venus so we can become virile. We can fuck all day. It's not the planet. I'm sorry if I'm being vulgar. It's just being Christmas, I feel an extra need to be vulgar. But it's not the planet you're worshiping. It has to be the creator of the planet. By axing out the creator, you have now cut your IQ and your ability to understand what life is, or better, why life is. Why you? Why me? Why? And if you can't answer that, then you got the wrong pursuit. You go in the wrong direction, babe. You're going where the lemmings went. You're going where the demonic pigs went when Jesus cast out Legion. You are not going the right direction, my friend. When it's all about you and your penis or your vagina or whatever other fucking cockamamie bullshit thing you have in your head, It's about, thank God, something greater than us. And that's why I say Merry Christmas, because it points to something greater than us. It points to the need that we have failed on every level possible, and we needed this Savior because we could not help ourselves, because we're too far gone. We are too depraved. And even with the best virtue signalers out there during the Biden administration, and before that with Obama and everybody with pronouns and doing this and that, and having all these environmental rules and cutting the oil and demanding electric cars and all this other ridiculous baby talk. Man is worse off now than he was before the modern era of presidents. And Trump's already, you better put a wall up of prayer, not just for Trump to get in there without getting killed, but to get in there and not make stupid decisions. Because there's already been a couple. And there's already been, cheating going on that wasn't counted, that wasn't caught, that was known about, but nothing was done about. So there's already problems. It's already corrupt. And now we have the Jesus orbs. Thankfully, the drones are set up there to get the orbs, but the drones, they can't shoot down the orbs. We don't have anything that can shoot them down. They're not of this world, of this dimension. Now they say that Stephen Greer says man can make those. Those are interdimensional. They can go in and out of space right before your eyes. Then if that's true, then man could go ahead and disappear half the population to a utopia somewhere. Well, I guess that didn't happen. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I kind of about everything I said, I stick with. Even the wild stuff I started talking about, which I pulled back on, because I don't want to get people distracted with my thoughts about, the fact that these are sentient beings. But I'm joined now by millions of other people who are now discovering they're saying fuck the drones. They're looking at these orbs, at what they call plasmoids, which, to me, all that represents is it's sort of like our solar system is a plasmoid in a way. I don't think they understand space. They think they're little orbs. They're not little. They're any size they want to be. But I can tell you this: I've seen a new one, and I don't know where this one came from. It's very interesting. It was a ball of like clear glass, and inside the ball was a black cube. Now you all know what the black cube. You all know the black cube is Saturn, right? So here we have now who discovered these. These were Navy pilots, and they'd find them, and they'd see them with the black cube in them, and they go after them. And when they get within about 500 feet, they poof disappear. Come on, we're not going to do that right now. We're not going to do that right now. So, with these things too, there'll be a swarm of them. And the next thing you know, the lights pop off, boop, 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 and there's nothing there. And they're invisible. Okay, now I'm having to soothe my dog. He gets nervous, like he's missing out on some attention. Are you missing out on some attention? You already know God is the creator. You already know that man is full of shit. And I got to put myself in that category. I mean, I've spent years groping around for truths that are just basic, that don't need any explanation. Just like when we had this discussion about the orbs and the drones, and then finally when people started seeing that the orbs that there's an adversarial aspect to the orbs and to the drones, the news media stopped covering it or toned it down. You don't hear much talk about it. Now you're seeing a lot more stuff out there than 2 weeks ago, and they're not covering it. Like ABC News had that undulating, plasmoid orb going, and a beautiful shot of it way below the tree, just right in front of you, not really in the sky. And it seems like after they showed that, there was a cutoff. And anyway, so it's hard to say whether these things are around because of Project Bluebeam, the U.S. government trying to scare everybody into compliance, or whether they're here and then there's some kind of war going on. But just remember, before this, these orbs were always considered the enemy by the United States because they were disarming the nukes. And back then, I considered them to be like, instead of a being with 2 legs and 2 arms and everything, they're beings in these forms, but the true form couldn't be seen unless you're in like a 5th or 6th or 7th dimension. In other words, they're multidimensional. And so this is happening right now on, before Trump, and apparently for the last 3 years around Christmas, these things have been, showing themselves. And now they're claiming that more and more will be parked off the coasts until we as humans start expanding our minds to include them as part of reality. So this is, I don't know what it means exactly in terms of who's against who. But I do know that not everything can be an imitation from, a lab down in Area 51. So, but I do know these guys have been working in secret, like Boeing and all those, my grandfather was on the board of Boeing at one point, and he knew all about, the weird thing about it was I remember he had photos of the moon on his desk, and they're like photos of like the dark side of the moon and stuff, of stuff that we don't have. How did he get that? And it was from his buddies at Boeing way back in the 50s. So, so it's going to be interesting. I would say this. This is portending to a very interesting battle, as above, so below. And so I think that what's happening is you're seeing the war in the heavens coming down to the earth. And to me, it symbolizes every man, every adult, every sentient human is going to have to make a decision. This whole idea of, well, I had no choice. Wrong answer. Don't even try. Isn't that nice how we're having the sunrise out there?
Yeah.
Behind me? Isn't that cool? It's the wrong answer.
Tell him no if you don't want him to do it.
No talking. Shh. Okay. All right. No, I don't want any talking right now. Okay, so I want to wind up on a good note now, Trish. I want to wind up on a good note. Being that we've, a lot of people, I guess it's very visceral. A lot of people are hurting right now because now that people are acting nicer, because they realize that conformity has brought them into the gutter, has brought them into mind control, has made them MK Ultra slaves, has made them useless automatons, has emasculated all the men. Well, now that they're realizing what conformity has done, and they realize all the people they killed because they were different, because they weren't like you exactly. And you realize, but man hasn't progressed either off the planet or in sciences or in anything because of conformity. So man has been retarded because of you who conform. You're conforming from 1965 through 1995. Did a lot of damage. I know you met the Lord in 95 and you've been good ever since. But that period you spent there, did you repent for that? For holding all of humanity back? For being an accomplice to murder? For being a willing participant in perversion and all that other stuff? Did you apologize for that? Did you confess that before the Lord? Because that's what you're really guilty of. I mean, that's the crime that has not been confessed. We must, as a society, renounce the old ways. Renounce the ways of hypocrisy, i.e. conformity, which is hypocrisy. And embrace the truth for real. And that is, do you like people that lie to you all day? Do you like it when people lie to you and they trick you into into giving up money or sex or winding up in a lowly position or being made into laughing stocks? Do you enjoy making people grovel before you? Do you like making them into a laughing? Do you like hurting their feelings to the point where they commit suicide? Because if that's you, then just keep on with the status quo and you will meet your end. But don't go around parading around the Jesus right now. You're wearing your big cross. You're all wearing big crosses now. I've never seen so many crosses. You think that's going to save you? It's got to be from the heart, my friends. It's got to be from the soul, from the mind. Jesus must transform it. And some of us were just, I guess the way my mother and her good self put it when we were young, because she hated me and my brother, and she hated my father, Don. She hated my grandfather. She hated everybody. So, but she said, what's wrong with you and your brother? My brother's name Rick, is that and I don't see why I should be cursed with you. She felt we were a curse on her because she said, you're both pure hearts. Now, pure heart would be defined as somebody that says yes or no. Now, Rick, my brother, being autistic, was more of a pure heart than me. I mean, someone once tried to borrow a quarter from him to go make a phone call back when we had phones with coins. And so he went and put the quarter in the phone and handed it to him, just to make sure that he was going to make a call with that quarter. That's what I mean. And I don't know. I guess that was what they wanted, was people that were, that you grew up to be like everybody else in decadent society and high society, to be swingers, to indoctrinate your children, i.e., perverts, to teach them the same way that you made it through your sororities and fraternities and initiations and hazing and all that. And they sailed right through, didn't they? They became just like you. And the world is a reflection of you. You are the majority. You have it. This is your world. And if you don't like that, the answer is going to be always one thing. It's Jesus. But there's nothing I can do to bring Jesus to you. I could tell you about my experience. I guess I could tell you some things, but unless you're chosen, and this is the opposite of Franklin Graham. Franklin Graham can go fuck himself half the time, because he's like, he's out there being holier than thou, and he's finally, well, he just doesn't get it. You can't just pray that prayer with Franklin on the air and then you're saved, and call the 800 number and have them hook you into the Bible and a bunch of other stuff and T-shirts and find a church for you to go to and spend your money. That is not what Jesus is all about. In fact, he never had any church buildings and T-shirts and all that stuff. The whole point is, it's a change. It's not just initiation with the baptism. It's a complete transformation of I like to think of it as the next stage in evolution within us. Heart, mind, soul, to be aligned with Christ, to be aligned with the creator of the universe, to be aligned with creator of reality, to be aligned with truth, life, and the right way to live. And we've drifted, some of us, because we get distracted with Facebook, and we get distracted with the phones and the computers. We get distracted with what we're trying to do. But, it's, I've got characters that act up that all end up in tragedy, especially the next film that I'm going to do, it's a bloody mess. And it's all based on consequences. It's all the fact that these people, they have no, it's not that they reject God. It's that they don't have God in their lives. There is no mention of God. There is no, other than God damn it, or, oh God, you know what I mean? Other than that, there is no talk of God. There's no thinking of God. There's no, there's no introspection. There's no reading of the word. There's nothing. And they all wind up, killing each other and maiming each other, hurting each other, and destroying one another. Because that's where polite society must go, to nuclear war and mass devastation. That's where we have to go, unless we bring God in. And then at that point, that's the only way we're going to be able to stave it off. Other than that, who are you going to pray to? Your navel? Your knee surgery? Your latte? What are you going to pray to? What are you going to do? You're going to sit there and get blown up. And then you're going to say it's their fault, the Democrats or the Republicans or the pedophiles or this or that. It's some group. It's not you. And so that's what's wrong with the world. I just summed it all up. And unless we're willing to look at the first thing, thing 2 through infinity will remain broken. So the president can't fix it unless we have a change of heart as a people, and the way to do that is to drop the old ways and align ourselves with God. And that would mean, look, I applaud bringing prayer into schools. People should be allowed to pray. To use this free speech thing as a way to punish people for praying and throw them in jail, those people need to be in jail and throw the key away because they are not fit to live in our society. People that would lock you up for your belief. And you should be free to go on your spiritual journey, whether it takes you to Timbuktu and the New Age or wherever it takes you. You should be allowed to, encouraged to go on that journey because man is homo religiosus. We are naturally religious, if you will, spiritual beings. We must go on that path to nurture our body, our spiritual bodies. Without that, we atrophy, we get stupid, we get senile, we get irrelevant, and then we die. So this is Christmas, and I'm happy to say there are more people celebrating Christmas than ever and trying to be kind to each other, trying to be nice. But Jesus, remember, the whole point of Jesus is to bring not peace. He is here to bring division, to bring, what are we dividing? We're dividing the word. We're dividing the truth. We're dividing it so that we sharpen in on the real truth as best we can. And the truth is that it's not us over, there is no us over God. There is no Satan versus God. There is no human versus God. There is God, and human has free will, Satan has free will, whatever, to go with that or to keep on doing it his own way. That's why I laugh when people say they're Christians, they play Frank Sinatra's I Did It My Way, which is basically the Luciferian cheer. And it's like they play this proudly, I did it my way. And it's like, oh, God. The opposite of what I'm talking about. And we have a lot of people, we have too many people doing it their own way. We have too many leaders telling all of us how to live, doing it their own way. There is a way to live. And that way is country first. No, I say God first. God first and let the country straighten themselves out. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm sorry to be so harsh. Now I'm actually doing preaching today. I said I would never preach again. I don't have the patience to be a preacher. I do prophetic utterance all the time, predictions of things and insights into things. But it's up to the listener or the viewer to determine that. I'm forbidden for going out and reminding everyone what I said that came due or whatever. That's a no-no. There's no need to glorify myself. Things are so far down the tubes right now that I think it's just really a blessing that we're actually having this convo. Well, it's my lecture to you, and you'll forgive me for this probably one day. Some of you new friends that are filmmakers and stuff that thought it was really cool to go the left way and be the beautiful communist and worship Frida Kahlo and Che Guevara and all that stuff. Understand, they were all those people, and most of those people in those Marxist movements, a lot of them are rich kids. Okay, they felt guilty and they wanted to do something. They don't believe in God, so they prop themselves up as the leaders, that they're going to lead a revolution to free the poor, which they've never been. Yeah, but that seems to go ignored by the press. If I just cut myself loose here, let God inspire me to the movies and the music and the to whatever I'm creating in my mind right now, whatever. Just really let it loose. It would be probably make Bosch blush, you know? And then maybe, just maybe, there'll be some real pornography that'll come out of me. You know, like having angels bless people, having someone stop by a guy that's having trouble and help him onto his feet and help him get across the street. You'll see some real pornography, you know, looking in on somebody's mother because she's old and struggling with all kinds of diseases and she's been left alone. No one will visit her, but you know, you decide to visit her. Now that's once it gets to the point where you start crying. Then it becomes true perversion because you're perverting the way people are. People aren't meant to go check on the old lady to see if she's still breathing and see if she needs some food or something. People are not going to be visiting you in prison. If you go to prison, they're going to think you got cooties and stay away. They're going to act no better than we acted when we were in 9th grade. They've made no progress over their entire life. Imagine that. A gray-haired fool in a three-piece suit being as immature as a child and thinking that he's really made it. That's sacred. Profane and, you know, porno, which is basically that which is taboo, would be being a help to people and helping people even when there's no benefit to you. Finding that wallet on the ground, and even though you need money and you're starving, returning it to the owner with the money intact and really not wanting to steal. And if you can do that without double thinking it, then you got a chance with God. If you can do that, if you can put your own desire aside. I remember when I had to go through something like that with casting, and they said, "Well, this other guy's available, and he'll make the movie much more valuable." And I said, "I already gave my word to the other actor. I gave my word, and he's good. He deserves it. And if it means less money, so be it. I made a deal." And I didn't feel like it hurt. Didn't hurt. I accept it. But in Hollywood, you know, it would take about 2 seconds for people to go, "Okay, you're out. This other guy wants back in. Sorry, I know I signed a deal memo with you, but I really want this other guy." You know what I mean? And I don't, you know, that's the norm. So, you know, you can understand this guy will bring us more money. So you're out, money wins, and you lose, human. But I was going to we talked about the orbs, we talked about Jesus. Jesus is so distant right now. The only, you know, so I see the orbs, it's like, and that one woman that said, you know, Jesus, and things starts undulating. And people say, "Oh, she faked that." Well, let's say she didn't. What if she didn't fake it? I've asked some questions before. And oh boy, did they answer, but they're all tied in with the entire interdimension, you know, other ships and, you know, beings and gray robot aliens. And they're all tied in with the whole thing. It's just, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? I don't know. I can't, that's why I just can't have it as a topic till I see what I see. But now I'm seeing mainly orbs and nobody knows what they are. So the news media quit covering it. Very interesting. I mean, they're covering it, but not like they were, a couple weeks ago. And then a lot of the drones are not there anymore. It's mainly these orbs that show up, and they're showing up not just here, not just on the West Coast. They're showing up all over the world. So I think something is on. There's something coming in the future. I don't think it's just man triggering Project Bluebeam to scare people into becoming slaves. I'm just not sure that's it. And we'll just have to, you'll know what to do. The Holy Spirit will tell you what to do. When it gets in our face, we're going to have to make a decision which way to go, probably. And there'll be consequences. Those who want to get on the ships and go to safety somewhere may be taken to death camps. I don't know. I'm not planning on getting on any ship. I am the ship. And so with that, I bid you shalom. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. This is Zeph Daniel of the Zeph Report. Merry Christmas to one and all those of you who don't know Jesus. May you meet Jesus. And I hope you do, and I hope when you do that you're so overwhelmed with the experience that you just go with Jesus and never look back. Because where are you going to go like the way you are? Another few years and you die and they put you in a box on the ground? Versus the real adventure, which can begin today. I'll see you next time.
Kept you alive in the hive. Why don't you be anyone you want, anyone you see? Now you look away, you're sleeping in a bed. No escape. They leaving the stuff. They want the go. They want control. They took it all now. Jump. Welcome to your new life. Are you really me? Now you get up and cross the road. Look up